Hello, I'm Anthony. Today I want to address the dilemma that I would imagine every songwriter faces many times in your life. What happens when you write a song that you like, but you know could be better? Are you prepared to go back and rework that song to make it what you hope it could be, at least better than what it currently is? This is a question I've been wrestling with in the case of this particular song that we're going to discuss today for over 3 years. In 2020, I wrote a song called The Mirror Song. I'll put a link above to the song as it was in 2020. But over the course of the last 3 years, I've listened to this thing and I've thought it's so nearly so much better. There are quite a few aspects about it that I really disliked. And recently, I decided finally to bite the bullet, get back in there and make the song what I thought it always should be. Today, we're going to have a look at what I think was wrong with the song, what I've done to fix them, and just basically have a general discussion about whether or not this is even a thing that you consider to be reasonable, going back and reworking a fully finished piece of music. Okay, so here's the format we're going to take today. We're going to have a look at this project file from 3 years ago. This was the song as it was then. We'll have a look at the various issues with it, and then I'll load up the project that I've recently finished, the finished, basically reworked song, and we'll compare and contrast. The first issue that we have is some pretty egregious noise on the vocals. At this time, my PC lived in the room with me, and my PC is very loud. It's a very loud fan, and it sounds like this. You can hear Pauline just taking a breath, about to start singing there. That is a lot of background noise on your vocals, and that causes some huge problems. Now, those problems really manifest when you basically comp a session. As you can see here, we've got various takes. There's a take 3 and a take 7. So what we'll generally do is get the song looping, and Pauline, my wife, will sing the same verse over and over again, or the same passage, and then I'll basically comp the best of them. If you've got this much noise in the background, that process becomes very difficult. We're going to listen to a couple of phrases now and just hear how unnaturally they fit together.
Every time I let my dreams take to the skies, they bear the weight of...
To me, they're just chalk and cheese. Those two phrases do not belong together. When you put them in the context of the song, it really smacks me in the face as being something quite unpleasant. Let's listen to it with the rest of the song unmuted.
Every time I let my dreams take to the skies, they bear the weight of cowards.
There's no breath. I've had to cut out the entire breath because it's so noisy, there just isn't room for it. There's a different ambience to the sound over the course of those 4 takes. They just sound different. Now, 3 years ago, both myself and my wife Pauline, who sings on all of my songs, were just less experienced at songwriting. I'd launched the channel a year or so earlier, and there was a lot of stuff I still just hadn't learned. And one of the things that we've really tightened up on in the intervening period is Pauline standing the correct distance away from the microphone and really not moving, getting to the point where you're at the right distance and then you're comfortable, and she relaxes and doesn't sway. And so each take is very, very consistent. You'll hear that in the next version. The difference between these two vocals is really not great. There's an even worse example later in the song. Let's really hammer the point home. Listen to the splice between these 2 takes.
The mind, they come and go.
They're just so far apart. It's crazy.
The mind, they come and go.
You can even see in the audio, actually, the WAV files themselves, they're just wildly different. There's just no consistency between these takes. That's completely on me. It's not Pauline's fault. It's my job as the kind of producer to make sure all of these things are at least highlighted. So I've got this problem where the performance is so good that I want to keep it, but the technical quality of the recording is so poor that it doesn't deserve to be kept. That's a horrible dilemma to be in, because this performance, if you go back and listen to the original song, I was proud of it. I am proud of it. It's a good song, and it's very, very well sung, but just way too many chops in between each of these vocals, so we need to take care of that. The next thing that's wrong with the vocals is that Pauline did this performance against a guide vocal. In fact, the piano guide vocal is still in this piece of music. This line that you can see here, the highlighted track is not intended to be a part of the song. That's the thing that the singer sings along to. So this basically provides the notational kind of instruction. We left that guide vocal on when Pauline sang the song, so she sang to that guide vocal. There was actually a missing note I've just added back in, but this is how it was originally.
Who curl their lips and hurl their battle cry.
You can hear that she's singing exactly what the piano is telling her to sing, and why wouldn't she? That's the reason why the guide vocal's there. The problem is that removes the humanity from the song. She's singing like a metronome. All of these piano notes are absolutely on the beat. They're all, of very consistent length. And I didn't appreciate at the time, I didn't appreciate 3 years ago what a negative effect that can have on the song. It steals the singer's opportunity to add kind of artistic license to the performance. When we come to do the retake 3 years later, I actually muted the piano guide vocal, and you'll hear the difference between those two. One of the things that I particularly disliked about this piano guide vocal after I'd laid it down and listened to the song back, these long introduction notes just sound forced, they sound artificial.
Who curl their lips and
I decided it was going to be much better, and this was a purely artistic choice, to make many of these notes shorter. There's another example of this kind of thing somewhere up here. Let's jump over here.
he smiles at half full.
Exactly the same thing. When we came to redo the song, these had had an opportunity to annoy me for 3 years, and so I was able to say, can you sing these notes with more snap? He smiles is much more natural sounding than he smiles. You know what? We've actually got a bank of things to compare and contrast at this point. I'm going to jump forwards to the new version. We'll just deal with those 4 issues that I've highlighted so far. We'll come back to the original a little bit later. Here's the re-recorded vocal. Let's have a listen to that background noise. This was issue number 1. This is the newly recorded vocal. You can hear Pauline swallowing there, but there's almost no background noise. I've done a lot of work in the past 3 years to try to reduce ambient noise, and this is how successful we've been. You can hear how loud that was about to be. I've really cranked it up there. So that is a problem just solved. So that's a huge deal, just to get rid of all of that background noise. Now we can allow the breaths to flow properly. I'm not having to scoop out those vocals when the singer's not singing, because you don't have this unacceptable noise hiss. What we then get is a much more natural performance. Here's a couple of the phrases that we listened to in the first version.
Is the only reply he can seem to find.
I've done no scooping there at all. I really like that kind of natural, breathy sense to the song. It's such a naked song. It's really only vocals and acoustic guitar. I'm able to allow that stuff to stand now, where previously I couldn't. In terms of the cadence of the sound, the piano guide was muted for this song, and you can actually see visibly. Here's the piano guide note. This is where Pauline actually starts singing. There's a far more natural cadence to the performance because the guide vocal wasn't there. This is that phrase that we listened to previously.
Who curl their lips and hurl their battle cries.
And now with the rest of the song in, except the guide vocal.
Who curl their lips and hurl their battle cries.
That feels far more natural. It sounds sweet and warm, as opposed to the kind of the more regimented singing along to all of the piano notes and just being absolutely on the beat and everything being correct. We don't want correct. We want that natural performance. And I specifically said to Pauline when I took the guide vocal away, don't worry about where you're supposed to sing. Sing where you feel like you want to, whatever allows you to express the sentiment of the song to the best of your ability. The best example of that is a phrase at the end of the song where she starts singing significantly before the beat, and it sounds like this.
From a distance toll the sound of doorbells.
I absolutely love that kind of really slow introduction. She kind of stretches the note into the phrase.
From a distance.
absolutely brilliant, as opposed to the from a distance. We don't want that. A superb, beautiful performance that Pauline didn't have an opportunity to do the previous time because the guide vocal was just there instructing her what to do. The next thing to mention, actually, the contrast between these two pieces is familiarity. When I asked Pauline to sing these songs for me, we generally spend a session kind of learning the lyrics, and she sings them really quite quickly. She doesn't really have an opportunity to listen to them an awful lot. That's just because we lead busy lives and we don't have that luxury of being able to practice them over and over again. The fact is, though, that she kind of had muscle memory from this song. She'd already performed it once. When we came back, she was up and running very quickly with it, remembered the kind of the structure of the melodies. And so when she came to perform it, it was just more deeply ingrained, it was more natural, and you get that sense of familiarity that we kind of missed out on the previous time. So it could very well be an argument to say, go back and rework every song you've ever written to allow the performer that opportunity to kind of really let it sink in. And then when they come back and perform it again, it's just kind of a more intrinsic part of them than it was previously. I am currently in the process of mixing this song, by the way. I will release the final updated version of it in the next couple of days. One of the membership tiers of my channel allows you to download Cubase project files. In this particular case, I'm going to make available the entire song. Basically, you'll be able to get the audio as well because it's such a fundamental part of this song. If you'd be interested in downloading this song, perhaps do your own mix of it, check out the links below. It's the Project Manager tier level that will have access to the entire song. Okay, let's carry on pulling this 3-year-old version to pieces. We've gone back to the original song now. 2 more things to have a look at. The first one is bad lyrics. So we have this phrase.
So moments and lives.
That's good.
Just tumble and die.
That's good.
If only I could learn to hide from this fever.
No, that last line is horrible. I didn't really like it when I wrote it. I just couldn't come up with a better one. That from this fever at the end, it sounds wrong when it's sung. They're not even the right words. I didn't want to say that. I just couldn't find a better thing to say. So
from this fever.
There's just nothing going on about that at all that I like. The other thing that we had is this guitar backing section here that you're going to hear. This is an electric guitar coming in over the top. Just trounces all over the song and has absolutely no place there.
All this time she knows that no one's calling. Still she dares to whisper this could be the night.
That's just noise pollution. There's absolutely no place for that to be there. If you take all of those tracks away and we play that again.
All this time she knows that no one's calling. Still she dares to whisper this could be the night.
Vastly superior. So what I was doing leaving those in, I don't know. I only learn this stuff sometimes long after the fact. When you write a song, every song that I write, I do the very best I can to write it the very best I can. There's never any compromise on my attempt to achieve, the highest 10 out of 10 kind of status, but I never get there. The only question is, how far below do I fall? And I sometimes only find that out weeks or months after the fact. Go back and listen to the piece of music and just go, oh. And in this case, it was like, it's so nearly good. We can do better. Here's one more example of a phrase that I ended up not liking. When we go back to the new version, there's a little bit more to say about this one. Here's the original phrase first.
They come and go, ebb and flow, never ending.
Come and go, ebb and flow, never ending. It's actually okay. That's not the worst lyric in the world, but I never particularly liked it. So I wanted to try and find something new to put there. This was kind of a bit of a revelation. This was a couple of weeks ago when I was considering reworking this song. Suddenly thought, oh, why can't I fix the lyrics as well? Where in the rule book does it say that if you're going to rework a song, lots of people remaster songs, but they never actually rework them. There are lyrics in this song that I dislike. Why don't I just write new lyrics? We're going to re-sing the entire performance anyway. We're going to re-record the vocals. So this is an opportunity to fix all of those problems all in one go. And finally, one last thing to listen to in the old version before we jump forwards for the last time. This very, very subtle drum track. Here it is. It's just a cymbal tap.
Meanwhile, counting time beside the mirror.
Way too quiet.
Our heroine begins to read the signs.
I was so scared of putting drums on this track. I mean, they're the simplest of cymbal taps. If we listen to what's going on, it's just absolutely tiny. I think I was just paranoid about bringing them too far forward in the mix. So we're going to fix that as well. Let's jump forwards 3 years. Okay, reworked lyrics first. The first two phrases of this newly sung lyric are the same. It's the third phrase that's different. Here comes the whole line.
So moments and lives just tumble and die. If only I could learn to find rhyme or reason.
That just sings so much better. It flows. It doesn't have this hide from this fever kind of thing. Two problems there. One, it was sung to the guide vocals, so sounded like this. That's just not right. But secondly, they were the wrong phonemes, the wrong sounds to come out of the singer's voice. I'd become too obsessed with the words and not how they sung. They didn't sing well. Whereas How to Find Rhyme or Reason sings really well. It actually fits in with the sentiment of the song much better as well, which is important, but not as important as making the lyrics sound good. Here's the second phrase. So this finishes with, it used to be, they come and go, ebb and flow, never ending. The last phrase is going to sound like this, with a couple of bits before.
These moments we find like tricks of the mind. They dance upon the undertow, never ending.
I think that sings much better to start with. They dance upon the undertow, never ending. The thing I particularly like about that lyric, though, is that it references a song that at that time didn't exist. In 2022, I wrote a song called Undertow, which then went on to become one of the songs on an album that I wrote called The River. I'll put some links in the description to this stuff below. If you want to listen to The River, that's my biggest piece to date, an entire album's worth. One of the songs was called The Undertow, and it's actually the spiritual centre of that album. It's the kind of the central concept around which the album revolves. But all of the songs on that album have some kind of connection with the flowing of water, and The Undertow is one of those ideas. In the Mirror song, I already had the idea of On the River Rolls, and that's actually part of the song. This song should have been on that album, and I'm absolutely livid with myself for not doing it. It didn't end up on the album because it wasn't well enough produced. Oh, so frustrating. But this gave me an opportunity to go back and tie these lyrics together as well. So I was able to make a reference to another song that didn't exist at the time when the Mirror song was originally written. Now that it does, I'm able to make reference to the Undertow. That sort of stuff only really matters to me. You know, nobody else particularly cares about these internal cross-references. You know, Frank Zappa would have described it as his oeuvre, but you know, this kind of global concept of all of the pieces of music that you write all fitting together. If I have the opportunity to do it without hitting you in the face with a club, then I'm going to do it because, you know, I like that kind of stuff, but it has to be subtle enough, and kind of, you don't need to know that that stuff exists to be able to enjoy the song. So there's a little lyrical reference in there that I like. And finally, the reworked drums with the slightly louder cymbals.
Our heroine begins to read the signs.
They're still not smacking you in the face.
Shadows in the face she sees fade into the light.
But they're right, they're just right now. As I'm listening to them, I might actually just bump their level a little bit more, but there's a bit more ting, a little bit more fizz to them. They're doing the job that they were supposed to do. So you wrap up all of that stuff, all of these different changes that I've made to the song, improvements to it, and I think it's just a completely different kettle of fish now. I'm so proud of this song. I think it's the best thing I've ever written. I absolutely adore it. And Pauline's performance, I mean, as always, she always sings really well, but on this one, it was just really mind-blowing. So lucky to have a singer like her. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Look out for the full version of the song when it's released. Hope you enjoy it. I'll see you again. Thanks very much.